Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 1002. Sweet! Of NoDQ video right here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. Thank you guys for your continued support, all of you longtime viewers out there. And thank you to the first-time viewers for checking out today's video. I hope you enjoy it. A crazy thought. When I first started NoDQ video back in 2011, I was still in my 20s. If I continue the current pace heading into 2,000 episodes, I will be 40 years old by the 2,000th episode of NoDQ video. Just a wild thought out there to think that I've been doing this for so long and I could be doing it for so long. I have no intentions on stopping. I will continue to do NoDQ video as long as humanly possible. So again, thank you guys and I hope you enjoy the ride. I hope you've been enjoying the ride and you will continue to enjoy the ride in the future. Now with that being said, let's get down to your questions. First one today comes from Slow Motion. Where do you see Randy Orton fitting at WrestleMania 34? You forgot about him on your dream card. Triple H too. You know his ego is too big to miss WrestleMania. I also forgot the bouncing iTunes logo, which pops up every time I plug in the phone. Annoying as hell, by the way. Now, your question. I did not forget about Randy Orton. I could not find a good spot for him in the WrestleMania card. I suppose I could throw him in the Andre Battle Royal. Now, I did forget Kurt Angle. I did not include Kurt Angle. Part of it was that I did forget about him, but the other part is that I still am not getting my hopes up that he is going to wrestle. Now, if Kurt Angle competes at WrestleMania, then I would put him in there with Randy Orton, because Kurt Angle coming back for his first match, you want Angle to be in there with somebody he's familiar with, somebody who will work safe with Angle. Randy Orton would be that guy. Now there's been the talk about Triple H being that guy. I suppose you could do that, but I have not been blown away by recent Triple H WrestleMania matches. I was not a fan of Triple H beating Sting at WrestleMania 31. The match itself was fine, but wasn't a fan of the finish. Wasn't a fan of Triple H versus Roman Reigns. Was not a fan of Triple H versus Seth Rollins and that whole storyline. So I have no real desire to see Triple H at WrestleMania again. I think he'll be there though. I could definitely see him in a match because Triple H's mentality is that if he's healthy and he can do a WrestleMania match and add his name to the WrestleMania card and make it more special, he's going to do it. So I guess for Triple H, I'd put him in there with Kurt Angle, but I would prefer Kurt Angle versus Randy Orton. If you're going to have Kurt Angle do one big comeback match at WrestleMania, I'd rather see it versus Orton than versus Triple H. But that's just me personally. What do you guys think? This one comes from I've Got Kids 33. How long do you see Bobby Roode staying face for? Could you see a gimmick similar to the $1 Million Man when he turns? No, I like Bobby Roode as he is. Don't try to recreate a past gimmick with him. That is like the kiss of death. Look what happened with Ted DiBiase Jr. when he tried to do his dad's gimmick. It didn't work. Don't copy something from the past. If Bobby Roode starts coming out there with a dollar sign on his robe, it's gonna flop. I mean, he was doing that sort of in TNA, and I wasn't really a big fan of it back then either. Let Bobby Roode do what he's doing now. It's working. And if he's a face, if it's happening organically, then just go with it. The fans are cheering for him. It's gonna be hard for him to be a heel with that entrance music. And I'm not a fan of changing the music. He's over because of the music. So he's a face. The crowd cheers for him. He has cool music. He's a face. End of story. I think he'll be face, hopefully, for a long time. I really don't know. I mean, anything could change. I think it might depend on the roster if they need a heel. Bobby Roode could easily go back to being a heel. He's good at it, but you might have to tweak some things. I just hope they don't get rid of his music if they do turn him heel. But I would try to keep him face. It seems like that's the right way to go with him right now. So I say keep it that way and just go with what the fans want. Just let it have an organic direction with Bobby Roode. That's just my take on it. This one comes from Dave Lesnar. Batista is being rumored to headline the Hall of Fame. Is it too soon? Why now? One more match in him? Why not Taker this year? Your thoughts? It depends on The Undertaker. I think if Undertaker wants to wrestle again, if the door is still going to be open, I say wait on The Undertaker. Now, if Undertaker is 100% retiring and he's completely done, then I say do it next year. Batista, you could really do any year. There's no real need to rush that. You could potentially do Batista 5 years from now. He might come back for another match. You really don't know. But at the same time, Batista is doing more and more projects in Hollywood. His name in Hollywood is growing with each movie. So the clock might be ticking on Batista doing one more match, in which case maybe WWE might want to get him around as soon as possible before he's completely done and he's 100% focused on Hollywood. And it feels like he's almost that way now. So I say if they want to do it this year, fine, but it depends on The Undertaker, I think. Like I said, if Undertaker is going to potentially do one more match, I say wait on it, induct Batista first, and then Undertaker. But to me, it doesn't really matter all that much. This one comes from Just K. Do you think the Nitro Girls should be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as a stable? No, and I don't think it's going to happen, even in the WWE version of what the Hall of Fame is, you know, with Coco Beware being in there. I mean, there's really no criteria for it. However, I see no good reason to induct the Nitro Girls. I mean, it was a nice concept for Nitro, but it wasn't like it changed the industry. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was something cool between the matches to make Nitro stand out from Raw. But I don't think it really warrants a Hall of Fame induction. The only way I could see that happening is for political reasons. If WWE wanted to do something to make Kimberly Page happy, but her and DDP have been divorced, and I don't see any political reason for doing that. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's highly unlikely in all likelihood. This one comes from Will. Do you know why Vader is not in the Hall of Fame? I think he should go in sooner than later. Politics. I mean, that's really the only reason I could come up with. Vader, by WWE criteria, absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. By most people's vision of a Hall of Fame, the best of the best, it's debatable, but I think Vader, I think Vader had a pretty solid run in wrestling. He was the WCW World Champion. He was one of the most dominant heels in WCW during that 92-93 period. He's had worldwide success in Japan, in various countries around the world. And of course, he had a fairly solid run in WWE. He was pushed as a strong main event heel in '96. So you could argue it, I think, either way. If you're taking the Hall of Fame seriously, I like Vader. So I would say induct him, and especially if he's having health problems, induct him. But for whatever reason, it hasn't happened. My feeling is it's just he hasn't been politically in the right spot, in the right place at the right time, and it hasn't worked out for him yet. But hopefully he does get in. I think he deserves it, and he should be able to go in when he's still alive. So I say do it as soon as possible. This one comes from Ryan. Any chance that there will be a women's Hell in a Cell match at this year's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view? I hope not, quite frankly. I hope people don't get mad about that. I was not blown away by last year's Hell in a Cell match with Sasha Banks and Charlotte, but you asked the question, so maybe you're clamoring for it. I'm not really sure why. My guess is there's going to be 2 Hell in a Cell matches at the most, and I think there should only be 1. I think doing 2 matches is overkill. 3 is just completely ridiculous on one show, in my opinion. And it looks like Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens is going to be one of them. And if you're going to have a second one, I would have the WWE title match be the second Hell in a Cell match. Even though we just saw that Punjabi prison match, whatever it's called. a few months ago at Battleground. I'm just not a fan of the Jinder Mahal WWE title run, as many of you know. But I don't think it's going to happen, to answer your question. I would be very surprised. There doesn't really seem to be a feud that really warrants it right now. We haven't seen like this really intense back and forth women's feud. It's not there right now. I mean, who would you put in that match, Hell in a Cell? You don't really have anything. There's no really significant feud to justify having that match be in Hell in a Cell. At least with Sasha and Charlotte, they had been feuding back and forth for several months, so it made some sense to do that. This one comes from NoDQ Rules. What is your favorite Hell in a Cell match in the PG era? And can you see WWE adding blood to that match ever again? Not purposely adding blood, but we have seen blood occasionally. There are two matches that stand out to me. The first one was Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins, the Hell in a Cell match, with both of them taking the bump off the cell through the table. I thought that was really cool. I wasn't a fan of the finish, though, with Bray Wyatt's hologram. But beyond that, that was a very good Hell in a Cell match for the PG era. And the Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar match. That match did have some blood in it. It was hard-way blood, but still, I mean, that one really felt like a good fight inside the cage. I liked it. I thought it was entertaining. So those would be my top two. And then maybe going back to the beginning of the PG era, Edge versus Undertaker, SummerSlam 2008 was another good one. This one comes from Cruz. Mayweather versus Big Show. Would you consider this Big Show's WrestleMania moment even though he lost? Absolutely. I mean, from a mainstream perspective, it was Big Show's biggest match of his career. I mean, to fight Floyd Mayweather at WrestleMania, even if it's a worked match, I mean, that is a blockbuster main event. I mean, Floyd Mayweather is one of the biggest names in sports. So for Big Show to have that honor to get in the ring with him and work a match with him, that was really significant for Big Show. That was definitely a career highlight for him. So even in a losing effort, I mean, they even booked the match in a way to protect Big Show, Money Mayweather, using the brass knucks or whatever. So it wasn't like he just completely dominated the Big Show. He needed a little bit of something in order to take Show down. So yeah, I mean, I think it went about as well as you could ask for. I mean, traditionally, I'm not a big fan of the celebrity coming in and beating the wrestler, but in that case, I thought it was all right, and I thought they did about as good of a job as you could ask for. Got this one here from Ravishing Raven. Hey Aaron, who would you say was a big enough WWE superstar that after he left WWE and he had a great run in TNA? That is a tough question because I'm not sure if I could say somebody left WWE and then had a great run in TNA. When you say great, you got to think of a guy who made a lot of money for the company and really did a lot of amazing things. I mean, I would say Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle comes to the top of my mind when I think of guys that left WWE and did pretty darn well in TNA. Even though Kurt Angle did not make the company a major mainstream success, Kurt Angle still made a difference. I think Kurt Angle definitely brought some eyeballs to TNA, and that first feud with Joe was very memorable. And Kurt Angle had a lot of great matches in TNA with AJ Styles and Daniels and all these people in TNA, Bobby Roode. Kurt Angle had a lot of good moments. I'd say Mr. Anderson had a pretty good run in TNA, all things considered. You know, the whole a-hole thing, that seemed to work for him for a couple of years. But beyond that, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, RVD really did not do much, had that terrible entrance music. Mick Foley really did not do much. Christian, I guess, had a pretty good run. He got the NWA World title, so, you know, that was decent. This one comes from Richard Graves. Hey Aaron, should the Hardy Boys be awoken instead of broken? I say you gotta pull the trigger on something soon because the Hardys are starting to feel like a nostalgia act and it feels like they're wearing out their welcome in WWE. You gotta change it up with them and do something fresh. If they cannot get the rights to the broken gimmick, then do something different. Come up with a new accent. Think outside the box again. let the Hardys be creative. That's what they do. They're very creative people. Just do a new gimmick. Why not? Just completely come up with something new and innovative, something that we haven't seen, and just try something different. That's what I would do at this point. I think for the Hardys to have some longevity in WWE, they need something different than just Team Extreme, you know, the old school Hardy Boys from 2000, only they're 17 years older. So you need to change things up with those guys, and I say, if you can't get the legal rights to the broken gimmick, then maybe just do something different, do something new. This one comes from Mr. Yuck. Welcome back. Thank you for that. Any word on Harper and Rowan? Would it be neat to repackage them as aristocratic snobs or such? How in the hell would that work? But you know what? You could try something different with them. I'm always up to the idea of, like I said in that previous question, doing something different and thinking outside the box and turning the phone sideways so the question gets all messed up. But at the same time, I like Harper's gimmick of being a crazy man, and same thing with Rowan. It's just WWE hasn't been utilizing them. And especially in Harper's case, a lot of people feel that guy is really underrated, and earlier this year, it felt like he was going to have a breakout moment in WWE, but then they just gave up on him. He should have been part of the WrestleMania match for the WWE title, make it a triple threat. I mean, he was getting hot, and then WWE just brushed him aside. He was just one of the guys in the Battle Royal, Andre Battle Royal, and then made very rare appearances on television, and now is not on television at all. And I'm not sure what you do with him. You could reunite him with Bray Wyatt. So there are a few options for him, but yeah, I mean, it's really disappointing that the company hasn't done anything with them. You could repackage them, but I'm not sure if making them aristocrats is the way to go. I mean, I just don't see it visually in my head. I don't see that working, but you never know until you try. But then again, the risk to trying that is if it fails, it's really hard for the guy or guys to go back to the way they were before. This one comes from Andrew. If John Cena is going to leave, then why not have the Shield reunite to send him on his way at No Mercy? Because Roman Reigns is a babyface, and WWE wants him to be a babyface, no matter what they say publicly. And there goes the phone again. Whether Triple H says Roman Reigns is already a heel, whatever they say, the bottom line is Vince wants Roman Reigns to be the guy that represents the company as the superhero who overcomes the odds and triumphs over the evil villains of the world. I mean, that's what Roman Reigns' character is. At the end of the day, no matter what Triple H says, no matter what anybody in WWE says, he is a babyface as far as their booking is concerned. They book him like a babyface. They don't book him like a heel. He doesn't work like a heel. Very rarely. I mean, occasionally he'll do a few heelish things, excuse me, but for the most part, he is a babyface character, and they're not going to turn him. They're not going to have him reunite with the Shield unless they're all baby faces. I don't see them going all heel, which I think would be an awesome idea, but I'm not predicting that to happen. That would be a legitimate shocker if they all turned heel. I would love it, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I think the best thing to do, and this might not sound popular, but I think the best thing to do is for Reigns to beat Cena clean at No Mercy and just move on to the next thing and let that be it. Just a one-off match. Roman Reigns wins. Cena gives him the seal of approval, and you move on. And it'll just be business as usual. Either that or have the Shield interfere and have them all go heel, but I don't think that's going to happen. That'll wrap it up for 1002 of NoDQ video. Thank you all again for watching. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding No Mercy, which I will be at in Los Angeles doing my in-person coverage, and I will be doing several videos as well during that weekend, so stay tuned for that. And I will see you guys next time for NoDQ Live Monday night right after Raw, and NoDQ Live will also be Tuesday night after SmackDown Live. So make sure you guys check out the videos live, and I will see you then and see you next time for number 1003 of NoDQ video.